computer. There we go. Okay. Hello and welcome, everybody. As you know, I'm Dan Winter, fractalfield.com, FractalU.com. This is our FractalU meeting. I'm joined by wonderful guests here. Tufan Guven is here. He's our host and announcer. And Aircrete Harry has been telling amazing stories about his pyramid research and his vortex research and the implosion in the water. And so Aircrete Harry is going to have more to say on that, but maybe not tonight because those materials are just getting together. Now, our major guest for the evening, actually it was to be guests plural, is Iris from Netherlands, who's been working with kids for years, teaching them the brainwave biofeedback and seeing without eyes. And she was to have been joined by wonderful Alexa from Bali, but unfortunately, Alexa's little boy is in the hospital. And so Alexa has some challenges there in Bali and could not join us. She's also doing amazing work with the kids with Iris. But Iris has prepared a wonderful presentation for us about her work with kids and the biofeedback involving Patrick et al. But before we do that, for just a couple of minutes, one, we're going to check with Tufan for announcements. And then two, Dan Mack is just going to spend about 3 minutes showing us his latest toys about the Grail Cup Vortex and dielectrics. But first, Tufan, just brief announcements, shall we?
Sure. Let's start with next week's lecture. We will talk with Jim Egan about John Dee's mathematical cosmology is cryptically explained in his 1564 Monas Hieroglyphica. So it's going to be an exciting talk next week. And we are going back to our normal 2 p.m. New York time. So we are going back to normal time. It's going to be 2 p.m. New York time. And I believe that is the Paris time. Let me see, 11, sorry.
8, that's 8 in Paris.
8 p.m. Paris time, right.
Yes, so 2 p.m. New York, 8 in Paris. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so we have a waiting list for the conference in South France, September. So if you are still interested, please send an email to info@geometricmodels.org. And we may have some openings, and we will get you in the waiting list if you're interested.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Wonderful. Just to say, so our international conference is rather sold out, fractalfield.com/2024. But as Tufan said, there are some slots available as we're rearranging things. So although all the rooms are taken, there's still some ways to do this. And also we're able to accommodate some people who stay offsite as well. So multiple choice there for our conference, fractalfield.com/2024 in September. If you want to come and play with us, it's looking really exciting. So that's pretty much it for the announcements. So now we're going to just move to Dan Mack for about 3 minutes to see the latest. So a little background here. Our friend in Paraguay or Uruguay is making these 3D Grail cups, and which have interesting electrical properties. Go ahead, Dan Mack. Yes, I'll unmute.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, Guillermo Mendez is in Paraguay. In fact, he's in America right now, and I got these from him Friday. And
see the Grail shape in there. See that little cup inside
the Grail shape, and it's cool. as above. I don't so below. I mean, it's complete, right? Okay, and this one has gold in the these are made from molds, and he's wanting to get a 3D printer because he wants to make it more exact. Okay. This one right here, if you can see the swirl, and it's basically the same mold, but the swirl has silver in it, okay? And I've just done a little bit of ancillary testing with lemonade, guava juice, ice water, and coffee, just as far as pouring it in there. And there's 2 other cups, but I'm just going to save those. I'm not going to show those. That one's just plain ceramic glaze, just a plain ceramic glaze. It's much thinner. It's thin like this one. And then the next one is thicker, and it's thicker like this one, and it's painted with yellow, so it's like the solar plexus. He has the man that has been making these and made the mold is he does uses tuning forks, sound healing, and frequency. He can do it at a distance too. In fact, he took the tuning fork, and I picked 137 as a number, a frequency, and then he did it and tuned it, and it was like I could feel it. It wasn't like tight like a pencil beam, but it was more like this shape in the bottom circle, right, it was kind of like a tube going into my heart. I could feel it, the frequency, okay? So that kind of piqued my interest. So anyway, I'm going to bring some of the cups with me. In fact, I really shouldn't. These here are yours, Dan. These are for you. And I have more, but he wants you to see, I mean, and try. Maybe I get a distributorship. But really what I wanted to talk about right now is Shungite sphere. I use the piezo discs.
From piezofire.com. Yes.
Piezo fire, okay. And this, I have two of these. I only brought one. So yes, at night, these are in my room, right? These are in my room at night on my headstands. I haven't gotten Patrick's new frequencies loaded into my iPad yet, but what I wanted to do today, and I'm not going to generate it, but what I want to do is put the Shungite disc, this is the gold one, want to put it on top of the piezo disc, and I know this is kind of awkward. I have to get me I have a different camera, but it's not set up for this. So I want to do testing. I want to use the iPad and then take the Muse for testing. And Aircrete Harry says, you know, what you should do is do somebody, pick somebody and then do a bass and then start the frequencies. Now, I'm going to use either the Tesla coil or the piezo disc, but I'm thinking for broadcast, because this is compressive down this way, right? In this bowl, it's compressive down this way. But what if I have two? So it's kind of like a toroid, and he does have a toroid shape that he's making. It's more like a cup, so it would be open, where the bottom hole is, it would be open. Now he's trying to figure out, does he need to use a smaller bowl? Anyway, I want to do this, put it on top of the piezo disc and see what the broadcast characteristics are, or just take this, don't want to drop that sphere, do it like the tuning fork, either do it, here or underneath. I don't know, I'm gonna have to try different ways. Anyway, I'm really excited. And
That's great. Just a little background info. So that Grail cup, remember, if people look at goldenmean.info/Grail, we simply revolve the golden mean spiral on the perfect 60-degree implosion cone. And if you revolve that, you see it is literally a cup within a cup, the perfect Grail. And the implication is electrical because that is the perfect capacitive cone. So then if those materials are high dielectric, for example, dielectric material in the ceramic, or the coating is a phase conjugator like thin film gold, you get more implosive capacitance. And then if you add a trigger frequency like piezofire.com, so there are all kinds of fun experiments to be done here.
All kinds of fun. I've been just for my friends and family around me, there's very few people that have seen. I said, but this is the Holy Grail. You want to see it?
It is literally.
Let's put this is the Holy Grail. Let's put some juice in there. And I'm thinking grape juice, because grapes are the king of the plant kingdom.
Well, and any living liquid with hydrogen at its core of water is able to implode longitudinal. So if you create implosive capacitance, you're broadcasting longitudinal. And we know even if you zap the piezo fire into the correct shaped crystals and then focus that longitudinal into water, it's amazing. I've been talking with Tony Rodriguez. So we're going to have a new product about that as well coming out.
I have a 12-sided Vogel crystal.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what Patrick's experimenting with, zapping the bottom of that crystal, the piezo fire. We think the parallel side will work better, and we're doing those experiments now. So we're coming back to that conversation also.
Well, I just want to say one more thing in the test. We were at a restaurant, which I just picked. I didn't really know. Anyway, so it was the Copacabana. So it was from South American food. So we're eating ceviche, and we're doing tests with water, guava juice, and restaurant-made lemonade. I mean, fresh lemonade. I'm just going to talk about the fresh lemonade. So I had 4 cups. This was my 4th sip. This was my 3rd sip. The other 2 were, they really didn't do much. This one right here, it kind of helped. The lemonade was very tart. This one right here kind of made it roll over your tongue better, but the tartness was still there. We poured it into this one with the gold. And it's like when I make bone broth. You know, my broth goes, you know, I slow cook it for a minimum of 48, most of the time closer to 72. And what you end up with is a well-blended structure, taste structure. This right here clipped the high part of the acetic, you know, the really tart flavor in this cup. It clipped it. So the lemonade, it was always good lemonade, but you didn't get the, you know, really tart flavor. It just literally, just by sitting in the cup and ambient energy, it softened the tartness of the lemonade and it made it like perfect lemonade. It was
I,
really
I bet it'd be fabulous with wine too, implosive capacitance. So we should have more fun with this. And eventually this is a
I have a bottle that was made by a really good friend of mine of wine that they use in services. Uh, uh, you know, it's you know, it's like when you break the, you know, have communion,
yeah, yeah.
and this is made anyway. Yeah, I can try that. No,
Holy
I
cow.
don't drink wine.
Coming up. Thank you, Dan Mack. So to be continued, a fun conversation.
Oh
But you
yeah, thank you everyone for thank you.
implosive capacitance. And remember, the Shungite sphere laying on piezofire.com was developed with the help of Patrick Bauty, who is with us,
Yes,
which takes
yes.
that the implosive capacitance from piezofire.com and radiates it to be a kind of room-filling phenomena. And they're doing all kinds of experiments about the effect on sleep and shamanism and a kind of microtherapy or a phase conjugator for the room. And we do know that if you have a small phase conjugate field and the room is pretty still and has relatively natural material, it will do what's called condition the space. And the whole room becomes a healing environment, amazing for dreaming and other things. So these experiments are ongoing with using shungite as a lens to radiate implosive capacitance. Remember, shungite's a super dielectric.
I,
So
I do that almost every night, and I have a pair of these sitting on top, and I alternate between piezo and the Tesla coil.
yes, yes. And you find it, you know, affects the lucid dreaming and
Yeah, it definitely affects the dreaming. Yeah, it definitely affects my dreaming.
and as an intro to Iris, who is next here, just to say that the frequency signature we're radiating from the one from the through the piezofire.com into the super dielectric, that frequency signature of implosion, planckfire.com, is the frequency signature now that Iris is going to be talking about in her work with the kids. So a little background there. So as we know, just a little 2 minutes of history here. Originally, it was Korotkov in Russia in the World Without Blindness project who showed that it was rather famous years before this that kids could be taught to see without their eyes. And Korotkov was kind of quote unquote hired as a consultant for the World Without Blindness project in St. Petersburg to measure the brain waves of the kids who were successful in entering this trance bliss state, which enabled them to see without their eyes. And he was the one who documented that the aura increased in fractality, which we know how he measured that, the fractality of the aura, which is the folded surface of the radiance measured by the GDV. But the dominant way he was successful in measuring kids seeing without their eyes was looking for golden ratio in the frequency cascades of the harmonics of the brainwaves. That's the first time we know of anyone in the literature talking about golden ratio in brainwaves. So even though about that time, the awakened brain people, Cade, had been measuring brainwave signatures with this awakened brain device by Cade, and they had a graphic of what brainwave shape alpha, beta, theta, gamma was. They called it bliss or radiance or peak perception. And if you looked at the picture they made, you could see approximately golden ratio between alpha, beta, etc. But they didn't say that it was golden ratio. So that all of that led us to begin to work with that. Originally, it was called the Bliss Tuner, my original brainwave device. And then, thanks to Patrick, we built something far more sophisticated called FLAMEINMIND.com. And then Iris and other groups, particularly Iris in Netherlands, began working with some discipline with kids. And we had a little gathering there in Netherlands. And And Iris has been doing this in a very dedicated way for years now and did a wonderful presentation for FractalU.com about a year or two ago, and now is back to us with an update. And the exciting part of that update, which I find exciting, is the actual observation that, remember, what we think is happening is the brainwave harmonics, alpha, beta, gamma, are like fingers pressing in on a vortex cone of living plasma, literally a vortex tornado, just like Aircrete Harry's talking about, inside the synapses of the brain in your head. So your brain is an optical hologram, and the synapses are the net of fireflies, Indra's net, as it were. And the harmonics in your brainwave determine whether you have fingers to push in on that vortex forming inside your head to bring that vortex to a point. And if the vortex gets squeezed down to a point, and we now know that is tuned specifically to Planck, then when that harmonic cascade tuned to Planck implodes and the little vortex, literally the liquid crystal, the superfluid of ether of charge, that is the universe, plasma, when that tornado comes to a point, then that point enables the implosion that distributes that charge out into longitudinal interferometry. And that's the reason the Planck is the same for 100 billion light years in all directions, is because that's the only wavelength the universe has agreed on to achieve charge distribution of longitudinal interferometry, the only physics of gravity waves, the only physics of all action at distance. And that's what allows the drain in your bathtub to have a way out. I mean, that's what allows the implosion to go somewhere, to tune that to Planck. And so that means that the charge inertia in your head can become centripetal, and you can electrically measure how conscious any person is by literally electrically measuring how centripetal is their attention electrically. Bill Tiller, Conscious Acts of Creation. So conscious power is absolutely measurable by how centripetal it is. Hello. And the other thing that's cool is when you then implode your brainwaves and propagate coherent longitudinal EMF, that coherent longitudinal EMF is the only physics of lucid dreaming and clairvoyance, we believe, as evidenced by the fact that the same kids often who have this, they're taught to do this implosion in their brainwaves, the same kids often, after they're learning, they see without their eyes. Yes, they're blindfolded, seeing without their eyes, but then they start seeing their ancestors. Physics of clairvoyance is that same coherent implosive embedding into the longitudinal array, which is ancestor memory, dreaming, track, song lines, and the physics of lucid dreaming, and the physics of how you make a soul. So that longitudinal coherence is everything, as witnessed by the new project we just launched called physicsofsoul.com, that once we teach adults that the physics of soul is getting that kind of coherence, then we can stop putting these soul-destroying Bluetooth headphones in a billion kids' ears because it's destroying their soul. Oops. So anywho, so I'm carrying on way too much here, Iris, but just the enthusiasm to say that the more we gather info about teaching kids this discipline, remember, it is my dream with Patrick. Patrick knows I've been bothering him for months now on this, about getting even improved cues in FLAMEINMIND.com, the brainwave software, to better teach young people that turning point in their life when they learn to make coherent alpha in their brainwave, because then the cascade can build, then they can do all the magic stuff. They become kinesthetic. They can teleport, if you believe John Charles Moyen, and I do. So the turning point is the moment you can teach kids to do this. And the last thing I'm going to say before we bring on Iris here is remember that in St. Petersburg, in Russia, when Karakov and the team there was teaching kids to see without their eyes, they didn't have to hook them up to expensive brainwave gadgets. I mean, the brainwave gadgets are wonderful, but we ain't saying you need to spend money to do this. You know how they taught the kids to do it? They said, close your eyes and imagine you're in beautiful nature. That's all they did. And the thing that is cool is that if you close your eyes and make a clear, vivid imagination that you have just stepped into gorgeous nature, your body flips an electrical switch and you get fractal. I mean, you start imploding because your body knows that in a magic forest, you can implode and you will gain inertia called life force. So just imagining nature alone is enough to start this implosive process. Wonderful that it's measurable and teachable, but basically it's simple. Anywho, I have carried on. Iris has prepared some slides for us, and she's a hero. She's working with kids every day on this in Netherlands. So please, Iris, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Yeah, so I prepared a slideshow. Gonna share my screen.
Please do. Please do.
Um,
I'm removing my pin now. So you have the screen. There you go. Okay.
and
You have to just pick which screen you need to share.
yeah,
Looking good.
okay,
You're coming up. You're good. You're good. You're on.
okay.
Cool.
Gonna enlarge it
Hmm.
if it does so. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I prepared very much relates also to what you just told us, Dan, that for children it's actually quite easy to experience their clarity, their clear vision. And it's us adults that are the ones who are like bewildered about it and that have to do the effort of returning to this innocent state of our inner child, because we all have this magic inside of us and it's natural to us. So I can really relate to what you just told me about us, about the kids imagining being in a forest and their whole energetic auric field
Implodes.
aligns. Yeah, implodes. Yeah. So that's also why I call it the rediscovery of our clear vision, because it's already there and it's not something that we have to strive for, because we were born with it, and that's what the children show us. So in my view, it's about remembering who we are and returning, or I guess in English, it's coming to our senses, like returning to our natural state.
Beautiful.
Because our true being, and I also shared this in the last time that we talked, but children know, they are clear in their knowing and in their feeling. And this is an image of my child. He is 15 now, but when he was 5 years old, he told me, Mom, actually all people we are angels. We just forgot about it. And it's just that he shared it with me from his knowing.
Huh.
So the children are aligned with this inner wisdom and knowing, and it's us that are invited to make this journey of remembering who we are. And for maybe some people haven't seen a video, so I included one video of Vindur, my niece. And actually, Patrick, you made this video when you were visiting us in Holland. And it's such a beautiful video because Vindur is, I'm gonna turn it on. Vindur is playing with this, we call it kapla. I don't know if it's the same word, but it's like these wooden small pieces of wood, and you can build all kinds of things with it. So she's making a chair now. She's building a chair.
Wait, we're not seeing the slide. Maybe try redoing
Oh,
that.
you're not seeing it?
No, we're seeing only the first slide still.
Oh,
I think
okay.
that happens when you get the wrong window. Try stopping the
Okay.
screen share and start the screen share over again.
Okay.
Just because I think that actually happened to me when I did the lecture.
Oh, yeah. I think it's here then now, probably.
Yes, probably selected the wrong screen to share. There,
Yeah.
now we're seeing, yes.
Yeah. So it's when I click the enlarge button, it stayed on the other one, like the initial one.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead. So here's
Okay.
Vindur. This is Vindur.
Yeah, let me
We're
see if
seeing.
it works.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's working. Yes.
Yeah. So Patrick made this video when he was visiting us in the Netherlands, and yeah, you can see. I mean, this is difficult without wearing a mask to build a chair of these very small wooden blocks, and she does it effortlessly, picking the colors. She only wants like the not colored pieces of wood. It's such a beautiful video. And sometimes people ask me, is it like intuitive seeing? And I said, no, the children really see. They really perceive the whole physical surrounding. You know, she's seeing the floor, she's seeing what she's building. It's actual sight.
Nice.
Okay, I'm gonna continue.
Yes.
Yeah, so I feel I have such a humble task in holding space for something that in the children is whole already. I realize I as an adult being programmed through society, I'm the one out of balance, because for me it's not like that easy anymore to connect to all of my clear abilities. So in my role as guiding the children, actually they are the masters and they are our mentors. So I feel the most important thing we as adults can do is keeping our children whole by doing the work ourselves, by remembering and healing ourselves first. And because it's so true that Frank Elaridi, he was the one that put me on my path by making the documentary about Nicola Farmer from England. And he said, you might say God was fair to children because he gave them the power to believe in themselves without any doubt, making it easy to tap into their full potential. And that's exactly what you were just talking about, using their imagination of a magical forest. And that is our true potential, our true, yeah, what we are. Because what I start to see that it is the harmonic magnetic energy of a child in free and curious play or in flow, using their eye imagination, which means being present and receptive at the same time in the now. And that's where the magic happens. That's where the implosion takes place. It's when we balance our left and our right brain. And this is how we were born, right? In a biological system with a brain in balance. So when we as adults are able to repair our minds, bring back the balance in our brains, which means being able to be present, like the male quality, and receptive, the female quality of our consciousness, and making them equal to each other, the way we came into this earth, into this life, then the magic is natural to us. And so now we come to the video that Dan talked about, that we made a recording of Vindur, in which, with the flame in mind, in which she opens and closes her vision and we can witness it.
So the key is that when she decides that she wants to open that inner vision, a very specific vortex cascade opens visibly, and then she closes it again. So you can see it's like the inner window opens is correlated directly to that vortex of harmonics.
Yeah, by intention. She can choose to use it or not. Yeah. So maybe we will come back to this slide to talk more about the octave and the phi ratios. But what we saw is the cascade of coherent harmonic frequencies with golden proportions, which leads to the implosion of our aura and creates or opens literally a tunnel of light. So here, so now, because this part of the video does have your audio, this is you explaining the vortex opening. So we're just going to try, okay, and see if the audio works. And otherwise we go to the next slide where we see the opening and the closing of the vortex. So you let me know.
Yeah, we could maybe narrate a bit, but we're not hearing audio, which I think that's
You're
pretty,
not.
yeah, when you play a film, but just it shows, so the alpha frequency is in the bottom in green, and then as the film plays, we should see that. Yeah. So we start with green.
Okay, but then maybe we can return to the last slide because it's also here in this image.
That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the calculations is based on the actual frequency of the green there on the bottom near 8 hertz. And then the distance from that green on the bottom, the alpha in hertz, the frequency distance in hertz, the blue peaks are golden ratio harmonics times that green, and the pink peaks are octave harmonics times that green. And it's just like building a nest, a Star Mother kit with Tinker toys. The golden ratio ones make the dodecacosa, and the pink octave ones make tetracubic. And your brain frequencies need both, because your brain is building a nest to steer implosion towards center. So you need both. The octave makes it stable and the golden ratio makes it implode, and you need both basically.
Okay, and then I will show you the video because this has no audio, so we can just witness and I will explain what we're looking at. So here we see Vinder, her vortex is open, and you can recognize the vortex being open due to the very high low and high gamma and the beta frequencies, and like the Christmas tree forming in her brain waves. And now at this, okay, so I'm gonna stop now because now we are witnessing. I asked her, Vinder, please make it dark again in your mask, and now you see the change happening here, and you see the dramatic change happening in the frequencies. At this, do you see the mouse?
Yes,
like
yes,
okay.
we do. Yes, it's clear.
Okay.
Maybe you want to just go
Yeah.
back again. Just go back again
Yeah.
to where those peaks are high. So the dark blue and the far purple on the right, when those peaks are high, maybe just go back a little bit so we see.
Yeah.
That.
So I'm gonna reload the
Yeah. Good. Yes. Yeah.
the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see, the noise is the red, very low frequency on the left. Now, when the noise goes down, the red goes down. And then when the pink and blue go very high, the blue is beta and the pink is gamma. So the energy of the pink and blue, the beta and the gamma, has gone very high, very coherent. So that's literally a vortex opening. Interestingly, the alpha is not very high here, but you can see the geometry of the cascade. So the harmonics to the dark blue and pink are, if this was a little higher res or a bigger screen, you could see it better. But it's very clear, as Iris emphasized, that when the dark blue and pink peaks are high, it means you have high coherence in the beta and gamma. And by the way, I know personally that gamma is hard to make. I can do 3 or 4 harmonics, but I don't climb to gamma very good. It does seem that gamma is a bit of a switch here. But go ahead, Iris, please.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play it, and then we will witness her closing her vortex, which will be visible both here and here.
Yeah, you can see the tree kind of. It becomes a beautiful tree. High beta and gamma, very high. Lots of energy in the high frequencies. And making that gamma is non-trivial. So the point here is that you consciously at will open that portal and close it with your intent by building that vortex which is visible because the beta and gamma go so high. Maybe, Patrick, would you like to comment here, or?
Yes, yeah, maybe also to mention something that when you look, well, there is the Christmas tree, which is appearing in the middle of the screen, but this is the first spectrum, the spectrum of the brainwave. But if you make an analysis of this spectrum, this analysis is done on the top right part of the screen. And when you have the beautiful Christmas trees in this part of the screen, so the top right, you see there is some kind of tunnel which is appearing in this analysis. Maybe Iris, you can play it again. You will see the green, the two green.
You mean here?
Yeah. But here it's much larger in the few seconds before. Yeah,
because now she is closing her tunnel, because you can see that
she's
the
starting
delta
to
is
close.
coming up.
Yes.
This is starting to close down. So I'm gonna again do it again.
Yeah, maybe, yes. You see it's very large. So that
there it widened. Yeah, that's the second order power spectrum or spectrum, internal phase coherence. And look at how wide that is. So the two green bars mean that the second.
So it's an analysis of the coherence of the first spectrum, and so it's creating a big tunnel. Yes, it's amazing.
You can see it's a big tunnel. Yeah, it's cool. So the second order power spectrum shows massive internal phase coherence at the moment she opens that tunnel. That's a very good point, Patrick. When that was how we started this whole thing, was the spectrum could reveal internal phase coherence, second order power spectrum. So multiple ways to see when you open and close that inner vortex, that inner tunnel of light. It's very cool.
Yeah, so now she closes it. It's almost closed now.
Yes.
And then in a few seconds, you will see my hand appearing here, and I hold up a card for her, and I ask her to look at the card, and then so she reopens again her vision, so we can witness that as well.
Cool. So watch for the door to open again here.
Yeah.
So now she says, look again. So now, see, and look, that's true. See, the purple and blue peaks went way up bottom right.
Yeah. Right. Oh, I cannot rewind it.
No,
I can do it maybe I can play it one more time.
Well, that was great, but you saw that the blue and purple peaks bottom right went way high just at the moment when she wants to open her inner tunnel, her inner vortex. So now it's open, the blue and peaks, and the dark blue and pink peaks bottom right are high, and as Patrick mentioned, the green lines are further apart, indicating internal phase coherence, means lots of energy in the spectrum, second order power spectrum, clearly indicating the tunnel is open. And now the opposite, the red bar went up, which is the low frequency noise, and everything else collapsed, meaning door closed. And then at the end, so there's that card Iris was talking about. And look, she opened the door and there, same thing happens. The dark blue and is perfect. So at the end, you saw the dark blue and pink peak in the front light. So it's very clear. She can open and close that inner vortex at will, and it's very measurable. That is very cool. Thank you, Iris. Good work. Good.
So this is just a slide with all the information, because maybe last time you put the presentation on your site, but it's also there. So what I would like to share now, just as a talking piece, is like a little bit of the philosophy that came to me about what I start to see in the workings or the principles, or what is it that we are looking at in the children, and why are we as adults like searching for it again, and doing our best to raise our gammas and to so what I see and what I learned from you then by listening also and starting to understand also what you were talking about, and it took me some while, but I can follow you now way better than a few years ago. So what I see, the principle, the vortex or the wave collapse is created due to a state of inner harmony and inner musicality inside the children, which expresses itself as sacred geometry in the electromagnetic brainwaves and the auric charge field.
Which I think is so beautiful. The way you use wave collapse in that sentence is perfect. And the psychological side of this is the waves ain't going to collapse unless your intention is shareable, is very profound.
Yeah. And what I start to see it, this is who we are. This is who we always were. This is how we came into this earth. And this is also why I feel that like enlightenment is not something that we have to strive for, but that we can relax back into, because it's already there.
Nice.
And we as adults are out of balance. And I think societal structures have like a huge impact on how we develop ourselves from very early on. But our consciousness is crystalline in nature. And we can return to that state, in my view, by balancing out our male and female energies internally. So being present, the male quality, and receptive, the female quality. So balancing back thinking and feeling in the harmony that we entered this realm. And that, I think that is the key to opening our heart, which also leads to the alignment of the higher chakras.
Nice.
So what I feel is the repair, like the repair of our natural light potential, is when we restore the balance between our thinking left brain and feeling right brain. We will effortlessly refine our inner balance and initial innocence, and we naturally align by self-organization with our heart, our intuition, our inner authority, and our innate morality, which lies waiting for us in the golden middle, in the center point, out of which everything came forth. So in this balance point, our fine energetic electromagnetic potential can and will effortlessly come to its natural full harmonic expression, because that's self-organization. And what I start to see, it has a lot to do with relaxing and healing our dualistic, but it's not dualistic, it's our polar mind. I think we perceive life as dualistic, but that's not true. It's polarities. So what I feel, it's a journey of recognizing and retuning. Because the musical geometric masterpiece that nature is shows us the intelligent, genius, universal geometric code of creation. The language, the song, the living tantric dance of harmony, of order, of symmetry, of beauty, and of balance, of the source inside us, of the holy relation between phi and pi.
You could say quite literally that the golden ratio cascade is phi, and it isn't stable unless the pi, which is the octave cascade, because the octave cascade gives you the tetracubic lattice, which is the necessary stability and structure. Then upon that, you can build the phi cascade, wrapping the dodeca around the cube. And so you can have both implosion, pent, and hex stability. And when you have both in that cascade, the completion of the star mother, as it were, then your vortex can be stable.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, and to me, why I like make the connection between pi and the female aspect. I mean, pi is about circles, and phi is like it's the straight relationship.
Implosion of the pent, yes, yeah. The spiral embedded in the cube.
So if we can see that the wholeness that the geometry of nature shows us is the principle, it is where we come from, and it's given to us. If we take that as our basis, as our standard, then everything that deviates from this perfect harmonics, we can internally understand that that's our ego. And by definition, it's an illusion. Like everything that deviates from the perfect musicality of the sacred geometry is like the sine wave, the sin we are on in this crazy journey of we call life. But it makes it easier to find our way back if balance is the base point. Okay, so hold on, I'm going to close the door here. Yeah, and then when we see that this old Egyptian word Nieter, which means God or godly, I start to recognize that nature or the whole existence that we are in is divine, is literally God or godly. So I see we are in a musical masterpiece of the one undivided male-female mind, the master composer experiencing itself by means of amnesia. Remember my child told me we are angels with amnesia. If you are a whole, the only way you can experience yourself is by creating this split inside, creating the polarities of male and female, and thus creating amnesia. And I feel we are all on this path of yearning to reunite, to come together in the center balance point inside ourselves and with each other. But I include this in this presentation because this is where the children are. They are our enlightened masters, our mentors, because they were not affected so much yet by society, which has brought us out of balance. Like really the disbalance in our left brain is such has become so dominant in our lives. And I start to see that it is due to the belief in the illusion of power differentials. Because a very young child goes to school and they need to raise their finger to be allowed to go to the toilet. So how well are you able to stay attuned and in line with your own heart and your inner intuition and your inner guidance if you have to ask for permission all the time, if you're being told if you're good or bad? You know, the whole societal structure is based on top-down hierarchies, which is an illusion.
Yeah, you know, we could. Vincent Bridges was highly opinionated on the meaning of the old Egyptian term netter, actually, which
Yeah.
I now see from what you're saying with the J in there, nejet, your jet into
Neater.
the yes,
Yeah.
which by the way, Dutch people can pronounce perfectly, but Americans cannot. But anyway, just the jet into the net. The point I wanted to make was I do believe that probably is one of the origins of our term nature. And
Yes.
And the last thing I'd like to say is that, you know, if you imagine at death, you're trying to compress so you're not going to be a stuck ghost. And what enables that is you're able to implode, compress with exactly the same brain waves here, which is why you have to see your whole life just the moment you die. In order to jet into the net, I mean, in order to embed into the longitudinal array, also called gravity waves and the only definition of ancestor memory. That's the perfect array. And the nature of that array is so self-aware, it's called divine. And you don't get in unless you're a shareable wave, which means unless your emotions are compressible, can be distilled, the whole thing, the whole physics of death. So that array that you need to enter either lucid dream or die successfully is literally the jet into the net of nature. And if you
Yeah,
don't do
beautiful.
compression and that's called impedance matching in physics. So it brings up a whole conversation of the physicsofsoul.com.
Yeah, 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 beautiful. Yeah. And yeah, okay, so I'll come to that. Yeah, so I just some beautiful images of this divine nature that we are part of, and we are this same harmonic beauty.
Beautiful. Very implosive.
Yeah.
Very fractal. Perfect meditations.
Mm.
3D fractal. Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, it's entrancing. It's hypnotic.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I think it can help us so much by realizing this language that we come forth from this language, this amazingly beautiful tantric dance song universal language that derives from the one undivided mind, out of which come with the first golden cut the first division into two polarities, which create the electric male and the magnetic female aspect of the whole existence. And in my view, the creator, like the grand composer, reveals itself by recognizing this beauty in nature, by realizing that the harmonic frequencies that create the electromagnetic ether field expressions is crystallized thought forms, it's consciousness crystallized into sacred geometric and platonic solid material thought forms. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And for me, it's a way home shower. So I feel our stairway back to heaven lies on the whispering winds of the golden middle path. In this song, they talk about the two paths, like the black and the dark and the light path. I think I start to see that there is a third path, and it lies exactly in the middle. And I think it's the golden path, where our chakras return to the same musical order as the angles of the rainbow colors. And I start to see that it's up to our free will to actively retune and realign ourselves with this musical harmony, like inner, because that's when the children experience their clear vision, when they by nature, by our nature, they experience this inner musicality. And I think we can find the golden, like the narrow gate, or the golden middle path, by remembering and resonating with this pure innocence of the free, unburdened, whole, holy child inside each and every one of us.
Beautiful. Cheers.
Thanks. So I think actually it's the game of life. We've been brought out of balance, and finding our way back home is going inwards. It's shining our lights into our dark unconscious waters. Yeah, so yeah, we experience ourselves undivided, whole, sound, healed when we remember, like repair our left and right hemispheres, which activates our heart or opens our heart by repairing our thinking and feeling to equal weight and quality, by its natural equal weight and quality. And for that, we need to turn our light, our attention, our awareness inwards and shine our conscience with knowledge, male, our light into our dark, unconscious female waters, our looking consciously looking at our limiting fears, emotions, wants, and beliefs. For when we shine light on them, they can dissolve, or they will dissolve when we are still enough. So all the old mystery schools teach us the only way out is in, and it starts by knowing yourself. And I think what we experience as our ego are illusions and are like masks that we wear unconsciously until we heal, like we rebalance. It's so funny, the word healing, it just means whole. So it's returning to our natural whole state. It's not like striving to become whole. It's returning to our original state, or S state, maybe. And I start to experience it more and more in my own life also. But our intuition, it's such a beautiful word. Tuition means teaching or instruction. So we have an inner tutor, we have an inner master, an inner teacher. And it's that subtle feeling, that so gentle voice. I think of God coming from the highest planes of creation, it's the inner audible live stream that is so patient. It never imposes itself. It's always correct. And it guides us to inner standing, to truth, to harmony, and clarity, to the golden path. And it's up to our free will to resonate with it, to hear it, and by free will to follow it. So I see the perfect example of natural leadership, which never imposes itself. So it's the opposite of what we are being taught in society, in our belief systems of top-down hierarchical systems, which are an illusion because we are equal. There's no such thing as inherent inequality between people. But I do think that's why we as adults are finding our way back to our clear vision again, because we believed in illusions, and it's just not true. Because it's so beautifully demonstrated, even by a research that was done by the NASA, and they wanted to see how well their technicians were in solving problems in a creative way. So on how many ways can you think of a solution for a problem? And they gave the same test to 5-year-olds, to 7-year-olds, to 10-year-olds. And out of those 4 groups of people, the 5-year-olds are the geniuses, and then the 7-year-olds, and then the 10-year-olds, and then the well-educated technicians. So we lose a lot of our essence, and mostly, and I know then you talk a lot about it also, and about what Steiner also said about imagination, or the I, magnetic, and nation means being born. So the imagination is what creates our worlds, our perception, our feelings, our emotions. It's how we create. It's our manifesting energy. And it's being shut down by society. And that's why for children, it's so easy to tap into their full potential and to put on a blindfold and to read from books. And so I think it's if we as adults understand the principles of that the children are whole, then it will be a lot easier, I guess, for us to keep them that way. Because this external focus that we have being trained into society by this by cultural programming based on the illusion of inherent power differentials has led to a collective and self-perpetuating imbalance in our brains. It's like generational. You know, children are being taught to listen. You have to be respectful. You have to listen. You have to sit still. You have to do this. You have to do that. And by training our kids this way, we don't learn them to trust their inner knowledge, their inner wisdom, to trust their own judgment, to trust their own perception. So that's why I say I feel my job is being very humble in my trying to be a space holder to my best abilities, being an out of balanced adult. And it's all about us remembering what it is to be in free play. Because all the methods that I have learned, I've been trained by Nicola, I've been trained by Matthew from Malaysia, I've been in Germany, and the focus is so much on like not using the word no. Because when I have here some colors, the frequencies of the colors, like green and yellow, can look very similar at first when you wear a mask. And so when a child is holding like this piece of wood and says, with a mask on, and says, okay, it's green. If I would say no, then then you can feel it. You can feel the energy. The no, like, woof, lowers your everything, your enthusiasm, this is how we were taught in school. No, not good. Well, when we understand that the frequencies of these colors are very similar, maybe at first, then you can really feel the joy of, wow, it's becoming clear to you. And what you have in your hand is a yellow piece of wood, but for you it looks like green. And it will become more clear. So it's very important in the guidance to be constructively realistic, and with real enthusiasm for the journey that the other one is making. And it's really
like always building confidence.
Yes, yeah, but for children that's natural. This is why children grow during the summer holidays, like not only mentally and spiritually, but also physically, because they are not restricted. They can do whatever they want. And this is how we naturally grow. So, yeah, so this is why I put a lot of emphasis on understanding why we as adults are so out of balance in our brains, because it limits the electromagnetic potential of our life force. The same way that our operational system is just not like balanced. And if we return the balance in our natural operating system, then we have a holistic life experience and access to a much wider array of our potential, of our light potential. And
it is about the array, quite literally.
Yeah.
In fact, when you were talking about the only way out is in, I think we could do some physics around that, because literally, that highly compressed impedance matching to the longitudinal array, the only physics of clairvoyance and lucid dreaming and ancestor memory is to get coherent with respect to the longitudinal array. Well, to get compressed and disciplined enough to touch that array and inhabit the array itself, like telepathy only happens at the nodes, quite literally, it means that your inner vision is enabled, meaning if you understood, then you more likely do it at magnetic cross points, you'd more likely do it at sunrise, sunset, all the times when the longitudinal nodes are focused, which is, we now know, the only physics of telepathy, really. So suddenly, to be released into that inner array if that is where you go when you lucid dreaming, when you lucid dream and when you die, that actually is the inner reality, more real than this in a way. So the only way
Yeah.
out is in the sense that to implode and inhabit that highly compressed inner array. It's really true.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what when the Bible speaks about the full armor of God, or you can only enter the room, I think with the 5 seals, I think it's something like that. I think it's our chakras.
Yeah.
It's the aligning of our chakras. It's the full expression of our chakras. And that's because then we return to unity.
Yes. And I think the 7th seal was when you complete the 7th recursive spin, which is tetracubic, then you can superpose the pent. So 7 seals has lots of meaning in terms of DNA braid also. But
Yeah.
there was a question I was going to ask Patrick here. But first, are you nearly finished with that? It's after
Yeah.
12, or how
Yeah,
you?
yeah, I think yeah, so this is it. This is the last one. And this is because it's so beautiful. And I also showed it last time, but this is Santos Bonacci explaining the movie of Pinocchio in relation to our pineal gland.
Oh,
And it's so beautiful. Oh, but it has audio. I cannot show it because it has audio. So there's a link, but it's so beautiful because he talks about, so it's Pinocchio. So pin means pineal or
right.
pine cone, and occhio in Italian is eye. So the Pinocchio is your pineal gland. And Santos explains Pinocchio is not a real person. And in order to become a real person, you have to stop telling lies, stop going to the circuses, stop being deceived by your friends. So in order to get clarity, you have to open your pineal gland. You have to. So yeah, it's an amazingly beautiful metaphor for our soul's journey here on Earth, to towards self-realization.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Iris, that was fabulous. I love the Pinocchio metaphor. Open the pineal occhio eye.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
great. And so I think we really should congratulate Iris here on her many years of work with kids, teaching them to do this in such a relaxed and safe space, empowering the young people, setting them free, showing them that inner still point is where they can see everything. And that's a changing for a lifetime. And that is one of the next steps we had dreamed about for Flame in Mind also. So maybe if you want to, if you, are you finished there, Iris? Is that?
Thank you so
yeah,
much for your dedication, Iris.
Yes.
yeah,
Daniel said, thank you. It was inspiring for sure. But maybe you could stop the screen share now, and so that we can share
yeah,
the screen here a little bit. So again,
yeah. Maybe what I didn't mention yet, because I feel it's like the ability of to see like the world around you with the mask on. It's amazing. But what's even more amazing is the changes that take place in the children when they really let me find the right words, but they're, I don't know if it's a good translation, but they're landing more into themselves. They start to become more empathic. They start to be able to express their emotions in a more coherent way. There are less fights in the house. Children start to clean up their rooms because they feel need for order, and their cognition like is awakened, and their creativity. So what this tells me is that this is who we are. We are empathic, super creative, social, resilient, creative super beings in our natural state. And if we can, if we understand this, then we start to guide our children in a different way.
beautiful.
I think, yeah.
Mm.
And so this is what I mean with keeping them whole,
Yes.
because there's so much pressure on on children on so many ways.
Yes.
Um,
And the tragedy is, children kind of tend to lose their soul in electrosmog and artificial schools and all that pressure, where if we knew what a soul was, which is
yeah.
literally what Iris is teaching here, when a child learns that they can have confidence in their own
Yes.
inner vision, not only is that their inner navigating capability during life and ability to have their own intuition, as you say, their own inner voice, their own heads up compass, it's also that inner vision is literally how you steer when you lucid dream and when you die, and literally the physics of clairvoyance. It's all about that longitudinal coherence to penetrate, embed, and see through that array, literally to inhabit the inner array. It's a beautiful thing. And I can see that work has gone into you, Iris, and it's beautiful, really.
Thanks.
We can't thank you enough, really.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, we're doing it together. I'm so grateful that I met you and Patrick. It's been amazing what happened.
Patrick is the hero. We want to ask for a thought from him. But Eric Reed Harry has his hand raised. Eric Reed, if you have a question, go ahead.
Thank you, Iris. That was a beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say, through an experience I had I went to India and I was at an ashram for 30 days, practicing meditation every day, eating clean, doing water enemas 3 times a day, like just being so clean. And after about 3 weeks, I started experiencing many psychic abilities, like seeing with my eyes closed. And I think, based on my personal experience, I think anybody can do this after 30 days of the right diet, because I was also vegan and I was doing a lot of juicing. And I think we can all do it as adults, because I was in my 40s when I first had my third eye experience, seeing with my eyes closed. And so it's just something that I think is possible for everybody, like you were saying. And it's just a matter of wanting and taking the time to focus on doing these practices like meditating and things like this. So it's really amazing. And thank you for showing the evidence using the technology of Flame in Mind. That was amazing to see.
Oh, and
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being the testimonial for the courage to do it, and mentioning that there's many aspects of this hygiene, including diet and the purification. And also, we're talking about the effect of the environment, that if you have, a place in nature, if you have a place where magnetic lines cross, this is going to work better. And now we know exactly why, because compression is enabled and that implosion is possible. And so that's wonderful. Eric Reed, you continue to be Eric Reed Harry, you continue to be a great inspiration to us all. Thank you. But Patrick, I just wanted to ask, do you have a comment, Patrick? Any comment at all, but particularly in terms of, we have been talking, Patrick, about kind of tweaking the FlameInMind.com system to even make this even a little more simple to teach people, for example, that first moment they make alpha with a better audio cues and that sort of thing, in terms of how you see Flame in Mind evolving to work with this process.
Yes, I have to go back a little bit in programming. But well, I have to finalize what I'm doing now, and then I have planned to go back to Flame in Mind and try to find a way to make the link with the feedback, and so try to while analyzing the brain waves, try to generate a cascade of frequency that will induce more easily this kind of state. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's really quite a dream. I have to admit, it's been a dream of mine for a long time, and Patrick's done such wonders with the software. But we can do more, we think, specifically. Now we know that it is a turning point when someone can learn to sustain some alpha. That's step one. And then step 2 is then the cascade going upward from the alpha builds octave and golden ratio to build that vortex. So for young people, simply to learn make alpha, which is learning to literally embed in Schumann, like hear the earth, is such a turning point. That's the beginning of clairvoyance and lucid dreaming, ancestor memory, inner voices, all of that starts when you can make that alpha dependably. So the trick there is that since your eyes are closed, you could, of course, look at the screen later, and after a few minutes of meditating, you look back and see the measurement of your alpha. But if the audio cues, the little tone that you hear in your ear within a very short time, half a second of when you made that alpha. Now, if that audio tone were actually an audio harmonic of the actual audio frequency you made, then the actual sound you're hearing in your ears during your meditation is actual implosive harmonic sound of your actual brain waves. So suddenly, the world's most powerful Bliss binaural beat cascade is literally your own brain waves, increasing your ability to learn with millisecond, or well, not millisecond, but within seconds of accurate audio cues to that implosion. So we're evolving that system, and we're hoping to demonstrate a little work in this direction when we all gather in September. And Iris is going to be there, and Iris is going to have at least one magic young person with her, and we think it's going to be serious fun. Anywho, this has been wonderful. Tufan, did you have some questions from the list that we should share here?
Yes, Vika asks, are the children able to see eyes closed in the dark? Is this technique taught to blind people, children, and adults?
Yes. Yeah. We tried once with Finder in an indoor bathroom with no windows, and we were curious if she was able to see. So it was really pitch dark, really dark room, and so I held up fingers for her, and she didn't see like fingers, but she said, I saw two white sticks, white glowing sticks. That's what she saw. So she saw the amount of fingers that I held up, but it weren't fingers for her. There were like white, shiny stripes.
Like they were glowing, like your fingers were glowing in the dark. I do
Yeah.
believe there's actually some research on this, and what we were told is that it is often a bit harder for kids to, or not anyone, to see without their eyes in this bliss state if there is no light. And we can understand that. And actually, the research has also shown, I believe, that if more of the skin is exposed, then this skill is easier. Where if the skin is all covered, it's harder, actually. And you can see why, because the cascade. And also then, if you're wearing very light, high dielectric natural material clothing, that means your aura can breathe, and the implosive capacitance of your aura has everything to do with breathing. Just like if you take off your clothes and get grounded, you burp and fart because you implode. Well, that implosion of charge has everything to do with perception. Anyway, next question. Go ahead, Tufan.
Follow-up question. Are these skills kept during all their life?
Yeah. So what Harry's talking about, it's there for all of us, and it never leaves us. The question is, do we access it? Do we bring ourselves into this state that we can experience it?
Yeah, I think if the child gets the idea that they can resort to their inner vision when they're young, and then they realize that that's actually useful in everyday life, then they will keep doing it. But as Iris said, the trick I see is getting the kids to relax enough to build confidence in their own inner ability, literally to believe in themselves. That's a turning point. And unfortunately, our schools are breeding that out of our children at the same time they're filling them with the poisonous electrosmog environments. So we do need to do something about our schools once we know what the physicsofsoul.com is. Anyway, go ahead, Tufan, next question.
an earlier question from Niels. What are the octave ratios that you showed then in the app?
So when we refer to octave ratios, we're saying we start with whatever frequency their alpha brain waves are, usually somewhere around 7.5 to 10 or something. So whatever the dominant frequency of their alpha is, and it really only works well if the alpha can be a little bit stable, then the computer calculates the ratio to the other harmonics, beta and gamma, in their brain waves. And when that ratio has an octave component, that's called an octave cascade. Originally, we saw that happen more with telepathy and less with Bliss, actually, octave cascades. But as Patrick points out, it's the sustaining of both octave and golden ratio in that cascade of harmonics, which literally is a lattice structure of the tetracube octave, embedded within the pent structure dodecacosa, literally the Star Mother kit. So you're literally building charge collapse to make that vortex implode. It's quite simple, actually. Go ahead, Tufan.
That's all then.
Okay. So I think we've done the questions. Does anybody else have any comments? Did you have anything else more that you wanted to say in conclusion, Patrick or Iris? Or was that a happily ever after? The lesson here is really quite simple, that now that we understand what consciousness is, and we know what it is, it's the ability to make a vortex that implodes through to Planck inside your head. You're literally making a tornado in your head. And when that tornado is sustainable, you can take it with you when you lucid dream and when you die, called soul, physicsofsoul.com, and the coupling, impedance matching at the center of that vortex, that still point, the drain hole out that makes it implosive and that makes it centripetal, a longitudinal array, is the physics of clairvoyance and lucid dreaming and taking memory through death. And that array is literally the songline dreaming track of ancestor memory, communion of saints. So once we understand, we can talk about coherent longitudinal interferometry, real electrical engineering, measurable physics, and in the same breath, talk about the physics of lucid dreaming and clairvoyance and what go through death and where people go when they're looking out at their body, out from outside their body, as many medical doctors have proven. Now we know what's looking at your body from outside your body when you go out of your body during near-death experience. We know what's going with you is that plasma vortex tornado. So when you learn the skill to make the implosive vortex tornado inside your head, the net of fireflies, then all of this very subjective language about what is consciousness is really unnecessary, because now it's no longer a weak metaphor. It's a very specific electrical engineering physics that when the body has the opportunity to implode, to compress, symmetric lines of charge compression called phase conjugation, create a massive squeezing. And in your DNA and your glands, what emerges is coherent longitudinal EMF propagation, literally the Jedi. And that emergent field, the Keshan body, the rainbow light body, the Ba from the Ka, we now know that coherence is literally the physics of soul, and the embedding in that larger array is where we become the collective unconscious. And that collective unconscious is very specific. You don't get in there unless you are a shareable wave, which means you got to relax and compress in there, and then to embed in that array and literally see through that array like it's a bigger net of fireflies. You are inhabiting an array now, it's your synapses, but the bigger array out there, which is more sustainable, ancestor memory, has certain very specific physics disciplines that to implode and compress into that array, everything has to be distilled into pure principle. Literally, what is a shareable wave literally is that which serves the survival of the collective. That's why not only do you need that perfect compression to die well, we know death is implosive compression for sure, but you need that same compression, that same implosion. Relax, imagine you're in nature in order to see through that array. And the beginning of that process is exactly what Iris described so beautifully tonight. So on that note,
Then there is one more question,
sure,
if I may.
Let's call
That's
that happily ever after. Go ahead, Tufa.
This is from Vika. She asks, is the blindfolder always perfectly opaque? I think there was a controversy about it, she says.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it was Tufan who pointed this out because he sponsored some events and realized that there has been confusion here. You see, the confusion, as Tufan explained to me, was that it is very common when you put a blindfold on that you can have a pinhole of light at the bottom. And what is not well known is the fact that even a pinhole of light through a blindfold, there's something called pinhole vision, which is very real. And it's very educational in itself to study the physics of pinhole vision. And in fact, that's what John Dee was. In fact, that is the subject of next week when Alan is going to teach us about how John Dee designed the Rhode Island Tower to do literally what a pinhole camera does, because John Dee was studying how the pinhole of light, literally he called it scintillation, you could use the phase conjugation at the pinhole where vision turns inside out, the physics of the pinhole camera, and that scintillating twinkling point could itself be a mechanism of calling, communicating with ancestors, scrying. So the physics of the pinhole vision is very instructive. But what Tufan pointed out very importantly was that this can confuse people, that people who think they're seeing without their eyes, in fact, are using pinhole vision because there's a hole in the blindfold. So we are recommending that the blindfold, and Iris has studied this and worked with this and developed very good blindfolds, et cetera, so that there's not confusion between pinhole vision, which sometimes is used to manipulate people thinking they're seeing without their eyes, and the kids are seeing through a pinhole, and that can be confusing. And so that's why there are ways to do this carefully and not confuse and disempower people between pinhole vision and actually seeing without their eyes. Seeing with your eyes is absolutely real and is done in many countries, but also it's very common for people to get confused and think a little hole in the blindfold, which is pinhole vision, is the same thing. It's different. Iris,
Yeah, so that's why I encourage always children, also adults, to really take time to put on the mask and to take time to lift your head all angles to know for yourself that it's dark, that it really shuts off any light. And so there are different masks, and I also went on a journey to look for different masks because the faces of children are different than adult faces, so their noses are smaller, and it needs to cover those areas. And so I prefer like these kinds of, I brought one with me. So this is like a 3D foam mask.
Yeah, very efficient.
So it has this ridge here that really goes over the nose, and it's flexible. So you can also like adjust these straps, so you can make it more tight, or so it adjusts better on very different faces. And this is, yeah, well, this absolutely not see-through. You can put a light under it in a dark room, but
it's interesting that when people teach, like the Kogi taught the mamas how to have clairvoyance by putting them in a totally dark room for literally weeks at a time or longer. And there are people who teach this, Ananda and others teach the dark room. And it's true that a little pinhole of light would mess them up, actually. But as Tufan has pointed out, there are people, unfortunately, who mislead people into thinking pinhole vision is seeing without the eyes, and that can be disempowering and confusion. So we want to be very careful here. But the point is that if you're careful, you actually develop a true inner vision with no pinholes. But again, we want to be careful because we want this to be authentic and empowering and not confusing. So thank you very much.
And what I want to say is that actually, if you want to see with your eyes closed, you don't really need a blindfolder.
That's right. You can see without with your eyes closed fully.
That's true. I experienced it myself as well. But in the beginning, it can be like, what I really like about the masks is that it's totally dark at first, and because when you close your eyes, there will always be light coming like through your eyelids, and it distracts.
Yeah.
I mean, if I close my eyes and I do with my hand like this, I can see the shadow that's going through my eyelids, and that's different when you wear a mask and you start to like perceive dark or light areas or contours or even colors or actual like images.
And
So,
it's,
but it's true, you can also have this vision with your eyes closed.
and as Ira says, it's good to practice, because when you're a ghost or when you're dead or when you're lucid dreaming, you're going to need this skill. Go ahead, Dan Mack. Last question. Go ahead, Dan Mack. Let's say something.
Thank you. This is just for Patrick. I was the new frequencies, and thank you very much for those, Patrick. Do they just load into the Flame in Mind, or do I need to download them somehow? Those frequencies, the last email?
I think I can help a little bit there. So, and Patrick, correct me, but since we upgraded all the Flame in Mind, Flame in Sound, then you have an option for 3 Cascade. Cascade 1, Cascade 2, which is H bar, and Cascade S is Cascade Schumann. And that will show up in all the software. Cascade S, it's called. And that's the
Okay.
modified Cascade retuned to Schumann, which we see in all the pyramids and does seem to be the most psychokinetic. Did I answer correctly, Patrick?
Yes, but I think it's a part of the question. The latest files that I put on the cloud,
Mhm.
in fact, all of the files which are on the cloud has to be played with a normal audio player.
Oh, okay.
See,
They don't have to be downloaded in Flame in Mind or in Flame in Sound, but it's something coming from Flame in Sound. But I've changed a little bit, and I have programmed in a different way. So the best thing to do, I think, now is to download the file, and you can play them with your computer. You can play them with any kind of audio player.
Okay.
Also, there are some audio players also on your phone or on your iPad or even on Android. It's also possible. But as there are that's the reason why at the beginning I place small files and explain how to
Loop
put
them.
them together to create a sequence. But there are more and more people asking, can you please build and create bigger files like that? It should be easier for them. And so I've placed 3 new files, which are quite bigger, much bigger than the original, but it's a sequence which are already done. And everything is explained on the Facebook and also on the in the cloud.
Okay.
It's explained in the cloud also.
I have just one more question. I want to test the Shungite in the cups, but I also want to be able to run the Muse. So is there a way with my iPad, or do I need to get a MacBook to do that? Because I want to run Flame in Mind, Flame in Sound, well, Flame in Mind, the sound portion to power up the frequencies, but I also want to be able to capture it with the Muse.
Well,
Is there a way I can do that?
that's
No,
what Patrick is saying is, see, there's I confuse 2 things here. One aspect is generating the sounds with Flame in Mind or Flame in Sound iOS software, but you don't need to do any of that if you simply download the WAV files in the cloud that we supply to all PiezoFire users. And if in that case, you can use one device, any device, to play the audio, and a separate device that runs Flame in Mind to make a measurement. Very simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's very simple. Thank you.
But I think that your question, maybe I misunderstood, but I think that your question was, is it possible to use the same app, so Flame in Mind, to generate the sound and to make a recording of your brainwave and your...
That was my question, yes.
Yes, it's this is why the app was done. So you can do both of them. This is the reason why we add audio and sound files in the app, is just to help you to get access to Bliss and to different kind of state in your brain. But these originally the sound file was used to induce something in your brain that you can measure with the muse. So both are working together, but you have to play the sound before recording the well you can pass from one to the other. No, it's okay.
So he's
But I
saying
can do it
On
concurrently.
the lower part of the screen, there are 3 buttons. The middle one is to make the connection to a sensor.
Yes.
So to the muse or to a polar chest strap. And so on the right button, you have the sound, or
Yes.
all the possibilities of the sound you can create, so the waves. And on the left, you can make a recording of something. So it can be a recording of the brain wave, or a recording of the heart wave.
so you could leave the sound playing while you went over to record a
Yes,
break.
this is the purpose of
You got lots of choices,
Yeah, well, no,
then-
that's what I want to do, just so I can test it. I'm just, I understand now I could play it on the computer.
Yeah.
But
or you could
both
play
of them
Yeah. Yeah,
on the
both.
Yes,
iPad.
you can use the app. The app is there is a sound wave generator in the app which was originally used to induce to help you to
That's right.
relax. And,
It was
Binaural
a Bliss.
beats.
It was a
binaural
Bliss.
beat, yes.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a Bliss binaural beat trigger, and obviously we intended that you can measure your brain waves while you're doing. So
Okay.
you could use the app to do both, or you could use an external wave player from a downloaded wave file. Either.
And these binaural beats files are working fine also to get access to different states in your brain. And that's also related to what Dan asked me at the beginning. When do you think that you can update a little bit this part to make a real feedback between what's coming from the brain and the sound which will come from the app?
Which also, Iris, then suggests that we might want to have more fun playing Bliss binaural audio to these kids as they attempt to develop these brainwaves. There's some fun stuff we should be trying here for sure.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
since we do believe this is probably the world's most powerful Bliss binaural beat audio software in the world, thanks to Patrick. So,
yeah, you Iris, you can also use the plasma ball, the plasma fire with the brain option, with the brain. There are 2 parts. One part to enter in resonance with the different part of the body, different chakra, different organs. But there is another part also which is related to the brain frequencies. So the beat, instead of being related to the emptiness of the brain ventricles and the sacrocranial waves, so the blood pressure variation, in this case, the beat which is generated according to the brain wave. So you can select a beat related to alpha or a beat related to theta, and it's really working fine to induce lucid dreams.
to play it in plasmafire.com, for example, or to play it as a Bliss binaural trigger. So these are all things we need to work on some more. I'm glad we're getting in together in September to have more fun here. Hopefully everybody's going to be there. It's going to be a wonderful party. So
looking forward.
We had great fun tonight, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you especially to Iris. And it is getting close to 1 o'clock in the morning here. So us kids got to crack.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
Iris.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thank you, Ernst.
Thank you, Tufan.
Thank you.
See you all next week.
See you all next week. Thank you, Dan Mac. Thank you, Tufan.
See you.
Blessings,
Thank
Pat.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. It was fun.